Alright, Kenny, I'm reading this for you. This is your bedtime story. This is from a collection of baleful beasts and eerie creatures. And this book is no longer in print. And this particular story is one of my favorites. It is Monster Blood by Charles Land. Monsters were something you believed in, or you didn't. Keith Vollmer was a believer. He was a monster buff. Some guys collect bugs or stamps, but Keith collected monsters. He didn't settle for just any monster like Frankenstein or Wolfman. Keith devoted himself to the basilisk, the horrendous monster of the Middle Ages. Once Keith began to specialize on the basilisk, he soon learned to know and value the works of Professor Zembeck, world authority on the subject. And as he Xeroxed illustrations or diagrams from the Zembeck tomes, the professor took on heroic proportions in Keith's mind. So when he read that Professor Zembeck had actually rented Abbot Castle as a retreat to house his books, ancient manuscripts, and artifacts, Keith was determined to meet him. Riding his bicycle up to the castle gate, Keith stared at the stone tower, brooding and silent in the afternoon shadows. Though he knew his plan was way out, he determined to go through with it. The wrought iron gate sagged open. Keith chained his bike to a rusted iron scroll and walked resolutely to the massive oak door. In t-shirt and jeans, he looked like any boy out to find an after-school job. He pounded the bronze knocker, shaped like the head of a hideous gargoyle. The hollow sound was enough to summon the dead. He pounded again and again, until at last a small window in the door opened. Two eyes drilled through him. "What do you want?" "Do you need any help, sir?" "Go away, boy." The tiny window snapped shut. Suddenly it opened again. "How old are you?" 12. Last July." The huge oak door swung back. "Come in. I'm Professor Zembeck." In the great mirror across the hall, Keith saw the professor look him over. "You're a well-set-up boy," he said. "I can use you." Keith felt the magnetic power of the man. Although not much taller than Keith, he seemed to bend over him. His domed forehead and long stringy hair added height to his slender body, and his voice boomed with authority. "Tell me, boy, what is a basilisk?" "It's a monster, half rooster and half snake." "Very good," the professor murmured. "Basilisks are little known today. How are you so knowledgeable?" "I collect monsters. Pictures, that is. I am a Zembeck fan. I have Xeroxes of every monster picture of yours I can find. Maybe you'll autograph one for me." The professor looked pleased. Well, I think I can do better than that. But we have work to do. Let's get on with it." Keith followed Professor Zembeck across the flagstone floor to the tower arch. The tower smelled musty and damp. It wasn't as old as it seemed. 50 years ago, the ancient stone farmhouse had been remodeled into a castle by a family who wanted one. Now it was hard to rent. People didn't live like that anymore. "I have some fragile material to unpack. Are you a careful handler? What is your name, boy?" "Keith Vollmer." "Keith will do well enough. A good Scottish name. My godfather's name was Keith." The professor seemed to run out of breath as they climbed the spiral stone staircase. Keith was full of questions, but he thought it best to keep cool and silent. At the top of the stairs, Professor Zembeck pushed through the red velour draperies. "Come in, boy." Keith wondered if the professor had already forgotten his name. Come in," the professor repeated, and Keith followed him into the tower room. Boxes were everywhere. An ornately carved chest stood in the center of the room. A long work table was pushed against the wall. Beside it stood a refrigerator. It was then, looking beyond all this, that Keith saw the cage, large and strong enough for a gorilla. Professor Zembeck's eyes seemed to give Keith a careful appraisal. Picking up a carton from the floor and handing it to Keith, he said, "Open it." Keith put it on the table gingerly. "Is it a basilisk?" "It's a Jenny Haniver, a fake basilisk," explained the professor. "During the 16th century there was a ready market for basilisks. Malefactors created monsters out of skate and rayfish by adding a few feathers and a snake. These creatures could be made to look like basilisks, or what people thought basilisks looked like. Open it up and take a look. Keith carefully peeled off the gum tape and opened the carton. In a sealed specimen case, under glass, lay the most loathsome creature he had ever seen. Yuck. I'm glad it's a fake. That's it for now.